It's the late Friday afternoon and I bet everybody's tired. So welcome everybody. I'm Sloan Hudson. I am the program manager for Human Services Cluster now that Liz has gone to another job. And so I'm excited to be able to work with you guys. And so a couple of things I just want to tell you, and then I really want to hear from you. I attached in the landing page for this particular session, I attached a document that has my contact information. It has a list of the human services sessions that we've had already, that if you didn't catch them, you might want to go back and look at them. There are several really good ones. If I missed anybody's session, I apologize, but you can go back to the agenda and search through human services and see if there are other sessions that you'd like to have attended, but because they're recorded, you can go back and see them. And you can also get the code word at the end and give yourself credit for having participated in those sessions for the next 2 weeks. So that's pretty cool. But also on that document is a link for a rubric or a form that you'll fill out that is there for you to suggest industry certifications. So we will be taking suggestions for a few more days forth. So if you have any certifications that you feel like would be good additions to the Human and Social Sciences program of study, then feel free to get that document, fill that out. Don't wait till the last minute. It's a little bit lengthy. Last year, 2 years ago, we actually had so many suggestions that we couldn't even get through them. And then as we were just about to be through with them, the division decided to table any changes in certification. So all of that got put on hold. But this year, we've worked really hard on a rubric, and it's been a very huge collaborative effort. Lots of people have worked together to ensure that we have things included on the rubric that will make our reviews more pointed. It takes away any kind of bias we might have, and so we're really excited that we have that. One of the things when you recommend a certification is you're going to need to have some letters of support from some local businesses or other entities. So that's why I say don't wait till the last minute, because it'll take you a bit to get that together. And so I'm really excited to hear what you have to suggest. And so I hope that you'll go on there and download that document. Actually, you can link to it. You don't have to download it. Just link to it and you can fill it out right there online. So I'm excited about that. Every 3 years now, we review programs of study to make sure that we're still doing the right thing, that the labor market data hasn't changed, that we don't have any gaps in content, we don't have outdated content, or if there's new and exciting content that needs to be added, we want to make sure we're looking for those things. So we review every 3 years, and this year it's time for the review for your cluster. So the main focus of the rest of our time together is for us to talk about the courses in the program of study that's the Human and Social Sciences program of study, and just get your feedback, and also give you an opportunity to put your name in the chat along with a course that you're interested in helping to change, because my background is in healthcare. I did work really closely with Liz when she was at the department, and we collaborated a lot because Human and Social Sciences does have a connection to healthcare. So I have a little bit of idea about your different courses, but I am definitely not the expert, and you are the expert. So I would love it if you would put your name in the chat, and if it's a specific course you're interested in helping with, or if you're just interested in talking about the program of study as a whole, please do that while we're talking today. So I'm just going to open the floor for any kind of questions or comments, suggestions, and I've got my notepad here, so I'm going to take some notes. And if you'll just unmute yourself and start talking, we'll just handle it that way. If it gets too confusing, then maybe we'll have to raise hands, but we'll get started with you just jumping in and letting me know what I need to know. Don't be shy. If you're not sure how to unmute yourself and you have a question, if you want to type it in the chat, then Pat can also share those questions with me. I can't see the chat. So.
Hey, Sloan, this is Kaylee.
Hey.
So I've actually been out of the program for a couple years, and then I'm jumping back in this year to pick up family studies again.
Okay.
One thing that I actually discussed in a different PD conference back in June was obviously TSIC was developed right after I stopped teaching the program. But with standards being up for revision, one really awesome opportunity right now is even aligning standards with TSIC outcomes even more, particularly just in like vocabulary, just because I know when the TSIC exam was developed, a lot of industry partners, they call some of the things that we teach different things, but we're talking about the same topics. So I'm not sure the best way to go about that, other than just maybe keep the TSIC in hand when those are being reviewed.
Okay.
I also know, based on feedback that I heard from other teachers back in June, that things like professionalism and ethics and things of that topic nature that are on the TSIC exam are not really explicitly included in our standards. They're kind of supposed to be covered throughout the classes, just integrated, but there aren't any specific standards on that. So I wasn't sure if that's something that could be tied in, even if it's not in dependent standards. Maybe they could be integrated so that at least teachers recognize better opportunities to teach about things like ethics and professional. Okay. That's all I got.
Well, that was good, and I wrote it all down.
Sloan, we had a comment in the chat box.
Okay.
Angela Ford, she says, I think we need to add in a standard with more ethics-oriented materials in course 3 family studies. And also says ethics is in intro, but primarily in the practicum.
Okay. Okay. I know that can't be it. I've heard that a couple comments from different people that the human studies course, that very first one, really needs some work. But I don't know what that means. Not to you. So if you have some ideas, I need to hear them, or you need to put your name on that chat list. I will tell you that we're discussing, hoping that we'll be able to revise the format of the standards just a bit. I've had several teachers talk about the learning outcomes on TSIC and how much easier they are to understand for teachers than the standards that we have. So we are looking at reformatting the standards a bit, possibly blending some. Remember when we had competency? Some of you have been around long enough to remember that. Maybe blending some of the competencies back in along with that narrative portion of the standards so that there's a little more clarity. So we're going to be hopefully working on that. We'll be discussing that as a team and then make some final decisions. So if you like to have some input on that, also put your name in the chat.
Sloan, this is Angela Ford. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I did a little activity preparing for my classes this fall, and I'm outcomes on the TSIC for human services with the dietetics outcomes. And I noticed that some of that does not appear on our intro class. So I think we need to look at those. I can send you that document for the research team. And then I think we need more than one standard reflected on the nature of nutrition rather than just food safety. So and more nutrition oriented. There's a little bit more there, but they're just not a good alignment. And if there's any way, I'd love to just drop the word intro and just have human studies, because some of the colleges I've worked with do not like fundamentals or intro in the class. They seem to think they're less than, and I don't want to be anywhere near less than. So there you go.
Right. All right. Thank you. Okay, so we still have quite a few minutes before we're finished. I can't believe that you don't have more help for me than this. I've heard that you guys had strong opinions about things. If you don't want to share here, then you can always send me an email. As I told you, there's a document on the landing page for this session. It has my contact information, and you can send me an email, or you can text me because my work phone, cell phone number is there. If you text me, make sure you put your name on it so I'll know who I'm talking to, but you're welcome to do that either way. How about, since we're all together, how about any certifications? Does anybody have any ideas for certifications that we could add?
Sloan, you've had a couple of comments in the chat box.
Okay.
Angela asks about describing the approval process. Could you describe the approval process?
Yes, I can. So the rubric has several sections. At the top, I don't have it open in front of me, so I'll have to do it from memory. But at the top, the first couple of questions asks you specifically, is this certification aligned to a program of study? And can you get data either from the company, or does the student get a certificate, something that the school district can then create some kind of list? Because we have to have data, and it can be generated by the district. It doesn't have to come directly from the company, but there needs to be some kind of report back from the company. As long as that certification that you're thinking about meets those two, then you go on and complete the rest of the questions. So your questions that are on your application pretty much align to the rubric that we'll be using, and the rubric has points on it, and those points are also reflected on the application document that you would fill out. And there are sections about, again, about it being aligned to a program of study. There are questions about its impact on a student getting a job, post-secondary alignment, if there are any universities or colleges or community colleges that are talking about using that particular certification to help a student get into a program, or if they get credit in a program. There are several different sections. So you just we'll go through and we will just read the question and answer it yes or no. As we're putting those points down, then we'll add those points up, and we have 3 tiers on the rubric document. I wish I could tell you what the point values are going to be of those tiers, but that hasn't been decided yet. We still have a few more meetings to go to make that decision, and those points then will be translated over into the Ready Grad accountability that the districts complete and turn in to the department. So there will be 3 levels. So depending on how many points your certification gets will give it a point value. The big deal of getting it on the list is that you can use it for, you can use Perkins for it to pay for the test. So that's the goal of a lot of districts. It's not just Ready Grad, but being able to use Perkins funds to help their students pay for those certifications. So if it gets, even in the bottom tier, you get you get to use your Perkins funds for that. I'm trying to think. I don't really know the cutoff on the points, but it's actually quite generous. So if you can't put yes down to a few of the questions that are on that application, don't panic, because it all adds up. And once we fill out that rubric, as long as that suggested certification falls within those point ranges, then it will be approved. There's one little caveat at the bottom of the document. If the certification doesn't meet specifically to get on the list, there is a regional opportunity. So it would be like a special course. It wouldn't be on the list for the whole state, but maybe for your district or your region. And so if you had, I can't, in human services, I don't really have a point of reference, but I'll just tell you about a healthcare one. So let's say in the Memphis area, there are lots of industries for medical equipment. And let's just say there was a certification for a person to get something having to do with the creation or the industry of medical equipment. That is specific to West Tennessee. It's not specific to Middle or East Tennessee. And it might not fit all of the points for the rest of the rubric, but because it's specific to West Tennessee, we would have enough points and it would be awarded for that district to be able to use. So even if you look at it and you think, well, this isn't going to work, go through the whole document and fill out everything and just let us get it, and we'll apply what you have there on your application to the rubric, and then we'll be able to look at the points and see where it falls. Did I explain that well enough? If not, feel free to ask some more questions.
You've got a couple of comments from Kimba Sears.
Okay.
She says she does agree that the intro standards need some work. It feels like they're too ambiguous and all over the place.
Okay.
She seems to run out of time when trying to cover everything in one semester, especially the nutrition and wellness standards. And the textbook she uses, Creative Living Skills, does not really cover all the standards. She frequently has to search for extra resources to use to cover them.
Okay. So the textbooks, those textbooks, you know, the textbook companies, when it's their turn, and it goes on a rotation, I think, every few years, the textbook companies are invited to recommend or put their name on the list for us to review their textbooks to go along with specific courses or programs of study. So if in years past, there haven't been good recommendations for books, and when I say good recommendations, probably what I really should say is a recommendation. We did law and public safety, I'm going to say last year or year before last, and some textbook companies didn't even give us a submission. So some years programs of study don't have any textbooks submitted. And so when that happens, if the list from the state approved textbooks doesn't have something on it that you're wanting for your specific course or your program of study, you can go to your textbook coordinator at your district and recommend a book, and that textbook coordinator knows how to go through the steps to contact the state, and there's forms to fill out for you to get a textbook approved. And all of the approval, the main thing for that, again, is to be able to use specific monies that the district would have for your textbook. So if you're not satisfied with your textbook and there's not one on the textbook list for the adopted textbooks for the state, then look and find one that you think is good for your course, your program of study, and work with your textbook coordinator at your district to have them work with the state to get you that specific textbook that you would like. And then also I would say that I taught health science for 19 years, and there are multiple classes in health science that there is no textbook for at all. And so everything that the students get would be through lecture, reading articles, online, because there's not a textbook for it. So I do feel your pain. I know that it's difficult when you don't have a textbook, but just know that you're not alone, and also talk with your textbook coordinator.
Another comment from Crystal. She says she has trouble finding resources for a couple of standards, such as ecological systems and contributors to human studies.
Okay, I cannot say for sure. What was the second one? Ecological systems and contributors, is that what you said?
Yeah, contributors to human studies.
We did start on resources. I think it was probably just a few months before Liz left. And there are new resource documents on the Human Services website. I don't know if those particular topics are covered. So there's a place to look. And then if you're having trouble finding those, chances are I would too. Put your name in the chat and put down the resources that you're looking for. And then if anybody's joined us here that has some good resources that you could share for those particular topics, if you'll put those in the chat, that would help everyone. That's the cool thing about having online, because that chat will stay available for a bit, so you can come back and look at it later if you decide you want to check something out. So her question, or her struggle, was ecological systems and contributors to human studies. So if anybody has good resources for that, put them in the chat now, or take down her email address and contact her later. I'm sure she would appreciate it. And I would too. If you'll share them with me, I'll get them on that resource list. Other issues, questions, comments?
Nothing else has come through yet.
Okay. I think in a couple of my other meetings, we've talked about online learning, and I've just kind of opened it up. If anybody has a good resource for online learning or online lessons, anything like that that you want to share, you're welcome to share that in the chat. Or you can share it out and everybody can hear you. Got about 5 more minutes.
Hey Sloan, this is Angela Ford again. I'll put a link to my Padlet from this morning. There's a whole bunch of resources on there for teaching online.
Oh,
So
perfect.
it was called Easy Research, and it was for work-based learning coordinators, but we all research. In fact, looking at my family studies standards and ours, almost every standard begins with the word research. So
Okay.
I will throw that in there, and they can feel free to plunder, but we've been working on that in Knox County. If they reach out, I'm sure somebody shared one with us somewhere, so I'll be glad to share it.
Okay, thanks. Well, we have a few more minutes, but if you're not going to talk to me, I'm just going to have to say goodbye, because it feels really weird sitting here staring at this screen. So if you've got something you need to say, this is your opportunity to get it done, because I'm about to turn us all off and send everybody on their merry way on this Friday afternoon. Okay, I guess you need your code word. Pat, have you got the code word, or do I need to give it to him?
I do. It's wind, and I'll put it in the chat as well.
Okay.
W-I-N-D, wind.
All right. Well, thanks for joining me. I hope to get to see you face to face someday. And if you have any questions or concerns, don't forget my contact information is in that document that's on the landing page for this session. So I hope y'all have a great weekend and a safe start to school. And everybody just take care. Bye.